Buffs Nation, what's going on? Back here for a third time. Wonderful. As everybody's coming in, would really appreciate it if you hit that like. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Tonight is a very important moment for the David Talks Buffs channel. We have reached 4,000 subscribers. Good Lord. So this means so much that I have a big time guest coming on the show, someone that I've listened to for a very long time. And I think you're really going to enjoy him, his stories, his takes, his personality, everything like that. Of course, right before we start, want to give a quick shout out to our apparel sponsor of the David Talks Buffs channel, Yo Martez. Use the promo code SCO Buffs for 10% off. And of course, you can get one of your Colorado retro Ralphie tees. I mean, doesn't Ralphie just look amazing? Links in the description as always. But I'm so pumped. We're bringing on dmac Darren McKee onto the show. You might have recognized him from over the years of being a co-host of The Drive with most famously Big Al, Alfred Williams, big-time CU Buffs champion and Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion. He is, in my opinion, the legendary voice of Denver sports. Let's give a warm welcome to Darren McKee. DMAC, how's it going?
Wow, what an intro. And the first impression is that I have ASU gear in the background here. It's Syracuse stuff. But I say, wherever your money goes, you get to root for them too. So my oldest son foolishly chose Arizona State over CU. And so that's what that's all about. But you're right. I love the University of Colorado. Alfred is the world's greatest human being. I was so lucky to work with him for so many years. And he just lives a mile down the road from me. Our kids went to school together. Some of our kids, we went to Indian Ridge and Laredo and Smoky Hill High School. So I have been very, very, very lucky to call Alfred Williams a friend. And by default, a lot of guys from that team, Charles Johnson and Chad Brown. And of course, I've met a million of them over the years. But, you know, Chad, CJ, and Alfred are really good friends of mine from that team.
Man, I love that. And I think like that's what I don't want to make you feel too old, DMAC, but man, I've been listening to your show since, you know, I was in high school, which was a little while ago, you know, growing up in Illinois. And yeah, like your dynamic that you had specifically to start with Big Al. I would love to just hear a little bit about that, because once I kind of got, you know, this thing going, I started thinking about like, who do I enjoy listening to the most? And I mean, you and Al, you guys had a good time. You guys were always laughing. And that's kind of the approach that I've tried to have with this channel.
I've got a great story. So, all right, this is a classic story, and we've told it several times on the air, but it'll be like the first time ever. So what was happening at the Fan is I was on with another great guy, Oren Lamena, and we were on at night. And Alfred and Scott Hastings were on from like 1 to 3 p.m. So we just knew how the radio station was going at the time that, well, we thought they were going to move Al and Scott to afternoons. And me and Oren were excited maybe to have an opportunity to go to middays. So this was weird, though, because I had filled in for Scott Hastings with Alfred a million times, and we were just kind of getting to know each other. Well, Al was getting married, and for the second time, to Christina, who's a wonderful, wonderful woman. But again, Al and I were just sort of our bond. So I was filling in for Scott Hastings with them from 1 to 3, and he had just got married that weekend. And so I'm filling in on the Monday after he got married. He's going to go on his honeymoon a little bit later. And so he comes on the air. I'm on with him, and I go, Alfred, you got remarried. You got married again? I mean, that's like getting out of jail, driving to the police station, and throwing a brick through the window. So, right? It's a funny joke, right? It's a funny, like, marriage joke. Well, that's the spirit that it was intended. But, oh, my God, Al was really upset. And I'm telling you, I felt awful. I shouldn't have made the joke. I was presuming way too much. It's totally my bad. And I desperately tried to apologize to Alfred for literally 3 months. And I said barbecue to the radio station, and he didn't eat the barbecue. And so I'm just like, wow, well, I seriously spent 3 months trying to apologize and just could never really get through to him. And it made me sad because I love him so much. And I still love Alfred so much, of course. And so finally they come to me and they say, we want you to do the show with Alfred. And I'm like, Alfred hasn't talked to me in 3 months. And we're going to do a show together. So I got to apologize to him again in person, and he was great about it. And kind of the rest is history. And we became fast friends. And I feel terrible about the joke, although it is a funny joke. It's officially a funny joke, but it was my bad. I was presuming too much. And then, kind of like I said, the rest is history until very sadly, Al went to another station. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I love Alfred. I mean, I miss doing radio with Alfred every single day. And, knock on wood, you never know, especially under my recent termination circumstances. You never know where that's going to go. And I can't go into all the details of me getting fired. But let me tell you this. If there was ever going to be a Big Al and DMAC reunion, I mean, I'm fired. So, hey, Al can just come over in my basement. We can be on with you right now. Who knows? That being said, I have nothing but respect for Alfred Williams. He is such an amazing human, father, husband. I just look at him in awe with everything he's done. He's one of my best friends. I love him to death. And of course, I call myself a poser buff because I feel connected to CU because one of the people I have the most respect for, Alfred, is there. And then CJ, Charles Johnson, is incredible. And I just spent the afternoon with Chad Brown. So, how can I not be? I should take down all this stupid Sun Devils crap, right?
Hey, well, DMAC, I'll tell you this, man. My whole thing to the channel is everybody is welcome, man. Like, if you're hopping on this, man, this should just be fun, to enjoy. Whether you've been rooting for this team for 30 years or you've just been following it since last December, just come on and enjoy it. And again, with your relationship, with people like Big Al, with CJ, with a handful of other buffs, Chaz Brown, what has it meant to you kind of seeing what has happened? Can you believe that? They must be more popular right now than the Denver Broncos. Would you ever?
Well, I'm also buddies with Joel Klatt and Jeremy Bloom. And Jeremy I love Joel because he's just so unbelievably handsome and funny. There's nobody who looks that good should also be that nice and that funny. Like, that should not be allowed. And Jeremy, man, I have so much respect for what he tried to do. And it feels ridiculous now with all this NIL stuff. None of this would be an issue now. And Jeremy was very brave to fight the NCAA, and he lost. But man, oh man, do I have so much respect for Jeremy. So what have these guys meant to me? The world, the absolute world. And I've had just so many great experiences. It's been a rough spell. I get it. But going to a CU Buffaloes game, to spend time in Boulder, I've run the Boulder more than 15 times. The Flatirons are absolutely gorgeous. Folsom is amazing. How do you not just fall in love time after time with the CU Buffaloes? I know Ralphie is a girl, not a boy. I know it's officially a bison, not a buffalo. I got it. I get it. And yeah, I've ridden my bike from Aurora 3 times to Boulder. I know. I've done it. I've done it. I've been at the Rocky Mountain Showdown since '99. I was there when the stupid Van Pelt doinked the ball off that dude's helmet for the Buffs. Buffs didn't win that one. But, the history with the Buffs and football, I'm so glad it's back. I worked with Tyler Columbus, who I love. How can I forget Tyler? Tyler's a great CU Buffalo, and my respect for him is through the roof. I'm buddies with Mac McChesney. That guy's a psycho, but I love McChesney. I mean, I could go on and on. I just love everybody connected to CU.
Yes, it has been. Yeah, it's hard to put it into words. If you've been out here, just how different it feels. It's like the black and gold, man. People want to be wearing it. And again, if you, for those watching, if you haven't been to Boulder yet, I cannot stress how awesome and how surprising, in a sense, of just like Boulder being the place where it's like Lil Wayne's wanting to come hang out. LeBron James, Bronny James, maybe going to be here. Matthew McConaughey rumored to be here. I never really thought about Boulder being a place that would attract, true stars. Have you been able to get out to any of the games so far to witness it yourself? Oh, DMAC, are you there? No. Are you there?
Oh, we're having some connection issues. I'm so sorry. You were kind of coming in and out. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
We're good now. We're good now.
All right, we're good now. All right. And I'm sorry. Can I give you one quick story that I think you're going to love?
Do it.
Okay. So I started with Alfred, which was great. And I really didn't understand when I started with Alfred in 2009, everything with the Buffs. Not really, but I was like, okay, like this is important. Let's get into it. And Dan Hawkins was like, the Dan Hawkins time. So getting Dan Hawkins to do an interview was a little tricky, but what do I care? I don't know. I don't know Dan Hawkins and CU, whatever. So finally we're giving CU a hard time, but Alfred doesn't want to give CU a hard time. But I call it the CU Mafia. All these guys are just like tip about all sorts of crap. The CU Mafia is a real thing with the ex-players. And we get an interview with Dan Hawkins, and I just start going after him about, I don't know, who knows, some Dan Hawkins. Like, there was so much stuff, like that stuff. So I go after him, and Al's keeping his mouth shut, but he's like, and I'm just like ripping Dan Hawkins to his face. And I don't even, afterwards I was like, why did I even do that? But anyways, he seemed to, everybody, that was, listen, the bigger point is look at the valleys, right? And
yes.
Midnight Mel Tucker and all this. And what you're talking about, what does prime mean? Prime means everything. Before I got zipped, I advocated for a lifetime contract. John Calipari has a lifetime contract. I'm just like, just get this done. I mean, how could you possibly do better than Deion Sanders? And if he loves it and we love him, which we all do, I think I would do a lifetime contract, meaning like a 15-year contract with, 15 million a year. Just get it done. Just seriously get it done.
Yes, absolutely. Again, when we got this good mojo going on, there's no reason, to take it for granted. Like, you gotta, even if he says he's not doing it, primarily for money or anything, it's about respect.
Yes.
About keeping him comfortable, keeping him happy, all that. And I think, again, credit to the administration, Rick George, for kind of, pulling back the ego. That's a lot easier said than done. It's just saying, instead of saying, what power do we need to give up? The approach was, what do we need to change and do to allow you to be most successful? And that is just so rare in big time college sports.
One of the great questions was to Rick George, well, where are you going to get the money from? He goes, I don't know. We'll get it. Well, I mean, nobody's really asking that question anymore. And I just know from friends that all of a sudden their kids are more interested. And I think a problem in major colleges, period, is a lack of diversity. And I really do hope, and that's been an issue at CU for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I do hope it opens a window and a door for more students of all sorts of backgrounds to come to CU and say that Boulder is welcoming to everybody. It's a wonderful place to go. Yep. And I think that's a gargantuan benefit. And hey, I'm at my core a baseball guy. And I mean, I've been embarrassed that it's been the Pac-11 in baseball. And to hear Deion say two things. that he wants to have baseball come back, and that the hardest thing to do in sports is hitting a baseball, to me, warmed my heart. So the fact that Deion Sanders may be the key to bringing baseball, and we could be here in the spring or early summer watching UCLA CU in a baseball series, Stanford and CU. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do in other sports. I mean, I guess we're in the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
So I guess but that's okay. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State in baseball.
TCU.
Under a beautiful night at CU. And man, come on, can't you see that? So listen, let's get Prime locked down forever. They're going to have some bumps in the road. We did see that already. And you know what? I mean, we might see it against USC too. But he's been honest, man. He said we're 7 or 8 players away. He's not lying. He's not hard to find, and he's not lying. And okay, hey man, do you think they're going to get those 7 or 8 players? I do.
Yes. Again, you don't want to bet against the man, because whatever he set out to do, man, he has been great and phenomenal at it. And my question to you is, being a baseball guy, baseball coach, all that, might we see, if this happens, Coach Prime managing some baseball games too, on the side, helping out with some baseball?
No. We won't see him. We won't see him managing, but I bet he's there. I bet he would help in the recruiting process. Because that's a whole nother, the baseball recruiting thing's a whole nother thing. But let me tell you, I'm very, very tied into Colorado baseball. I won't bore you with the details, but let me just tell you, if there was a baseball program at CU, the level of talent here in Colorado, I just saw like a dozen or so kids from Colorado get drafted. My son's best friend, Harry Gustin, was drafted in the 18th round by the Padres. He also my son played with Ethan O'Donnell, Jack Moss, and Colby Shade. They were all drafted. These are Colorado kids. Colby went to Oregon. Moss went to Virginia. Then, he went to Arizona State, then Texas A&M. And Ethan O'Donnell started at Northwestern and went to Virginia. Harry was the #1 pitcher for the University of Hawaii. Do you see what I'm saying here? This talent is here. These are kids who were drafted from Colorado. So to think that we've got to keep better football players here in the state, the fact that like Christian McCaffrey never even considered CU, I mean, didn't even think about it, is of course ridiculous. The fact that Mitch Unrein somehow ended up from Eaton to Wyoming, why? I think Joel Dreesen was always destined to go to CSU. Yeah. So, what can you do about that anyways? But you know what I'm saying? Like, what Prime will do is not only get the best kids all over the country, but he will get the best kids from Colorado to want to stay in Colorado. And I think that will be in a lot of different sports, but most importantly, of course, is football. That's for sure, because there's high talented kids in football in Colorado. Let's keep them here.
No doubt. And to give you a small little detail, that's already happening with the visits coming up this weekend. Good. We have our top player with currently an offensive tackle committed to the Tennessee Volunteers, Gage Ginther, I believe, out of Fort Collins, is visiting this week. And so, that could be a really big start for the Buffs, adding some more beef to those lines, which would be great. I got an interesting question for you, DMAC. Well, there's a few different directions I want to take it. I guess I'll just say this. Well, I'll make a comment on this. With the Broncos where they're at right now, and with the Rockies, with you witnessed in person, their 100th loss, which is an incredible accomplishment to achieve. Could there really be the potential here that we're seeing, possibly with the addition of baseball coming at some point, where CU kind of could be the main place to be for watching sports here in the near future?
This is what you Buffaloes, you always go one step too far. Like you just can't be satisfied. Listen, I went to Syracuse. I'm a poser buff, but that question is like reeks of arrogance that people didn't go to Wyoming or CSU or Air Force or Metro or Mines or blah 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 blah. This is the ultimate CU arrogance coming through in this question.
Yes.
Listen, Listen, just be happy with everything that's going on, all the attention you're getting. But if CU people don't understand, people did go to other colleges besides CU. So no is the answer to your question. The Broncos and the Rockies, the Avalanche and Nuggets, they're pro sports that encompass a large region. Yes, we're very happy for CU. Stop asking for too much. That's my answer to your question.
I almost got you to take the bait, but maybe on this one, I'll get you.
Okay.
You have spoken, for many years about the Glennon Trubisky doctrine. This is something that you have fully convinced me of. I am an absolute believer in this. And so I need your thoughts on this. Is it quite possibly that this weekend with USC coming in, to play CU, is this the preview of, for instance, where Caleb Williams might be getting a first look at where he might be spending the first 15 years or so of his playing career, with Russ, on the team before that big buyout, next year, being mentored by Russell Wilson for a few games before he fully takes the reins?
Well, you're asking a very good question. It's a complicated question. Glennon Trubisky doctrine is simply this. No matter where you are in the draft, if you need a quarterback, you need to do what it takes to move up. This happened with the Bears when they had Mike Glennon and they moved up one spot to get Trubisky. Of course, that was a terrible draft because they missed out on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I would have looked a lot smarter if I called it the Alex Smith Mahomes doctrine, not Glennon Trubisky, but it's the same concept. The concept is if you need a quarterback, move up as high as you can, even if it's just one spot, even if it's just from 3 to 2 or 2 to 1, because you don't want to mess around. Now, is Caleb Williams or Drake May that guy, and where does Shedeur Sanders hang in that sort of conversation? I think Shedeur, I believe in my heart, Shedeur could be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. However, I think he could be the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft.
Correct.
And I'm hoping and thinking money isn't a big deal to Shedeur. He's always had money, and he's rightfully so making a lot of money through NIL right now. Your question is complicated, though, because it really wasn't about Shedeur. It's about Caleb Williams with the Broncos. Mm-hmm. For the Broncos to have the number 1 overall pick, which I believe Caleb Williams will go at, you kind of have to hope that a team like the Panthers, who already have their quarterback of the future, also bottom out. Because if the Broncos win 3 games and the Panthers win 1 game, well, then the Panthers have the number 1 pick. And then you're going to need capital to move up, which would be draft choices, which puts the Broncos in a very complicated situation because do you trade Patrick Surtain to be able to move up? But I'll tell you this, if the Broncos need a quarterback, because Russell Wilson is guaranteed $37 million in 2025, not 2024, 2025. So the Broncos have to make that. There will be no mentoring. Either the Broncos will hold on to Russell Wilson and he's your quarterback for the next 3 years, or they literally have to let him go. And if they do, and they have a top 5 pick, if they have a top 5 pick, then what are we even doing with Russell Wilson anyway? So I believe they would move on. Now, they're only 0-3, my friend, and I guess you have a dismal outlook on what the Broncos' future actually is. So I don't know. But should Broncos fans be paying attention to Shedeur Sanders and Caleb Williams, and maybe a little bit more on Caleb than Shedeur? Probably yes, because the likelihood of Shedeur in 2025 going to the Broncos is almost 0, because they'll either draft a quarterback to rebuild with in 2024, or they've already made a decision to keep Russell Wilson that will go through 2025. So there's basically 0. I mean 0, unless Shedeur would declare, and I really don't know why he would declare in 2024. I don't know why he would.
Yeah. I think most people, I feel like, that have like reading between the lines with certain fathers of players that have committed to the Buffs for next year, and just kind of I really do feel like there's kind of this 2-year plan, 2-year commitment with a lot of the staff. a lot of the players, Shedeur included, and then kind of after that, we'll see kind of what other opportunities arise. But yeah, it's something that, man, even going back, I remember with you doing the draft show with Big Al years ago with him laughing when Baker Mayfield's picked number 1 overall by the Browns. And then, you were hammering on Josh Allen, just a few hours up the road, man. Could you imagine if we had just paired Josh Allen?
My man, we were talking about that today at Broncos practice. And I'm so glad for your very accurate memory, because that night when it mattered the most, I was slamming the table for Josh Allen. And it didn't stop there. I kept slamming the table for them to get back in the draft for Lamar Jackson at the end. To think that I was like a big Josh Rosen fan is freaking ridiculous. It was all, why the hell would I go up to Laramie? Yes. Why would anybody go up to Laramie?
You should have bought his family dinner.
Holy cow. Well, I blew it. So we're at this place called the Library, which is funny because a bar is named the Library. Like Mom and Dad, I'm at the library. And so I'm there. We're doing a show from there. And here comes Josh with his mom, his dad, Palmer, not Carson Palmer, the other Palmer, the quarterback coach, like 8
Jesse.
people. Right. Sorry, thank you. So there's like 8 people, but dude, we're in Wyoming eating chicken fingers. The entire bill was probably like $43. And I mean, it's Josh. I mean, ESPN was there. NFL Network was there. There were like 300 people watching him. And all of a sudden he's 2 feet away from me eating chicken fingers. And I regret it to this damn day that I just didn't go over there and say, I'm picking up the tab. I hope you're with the Broncos. I mean, I just blew it. I should have taken it. I should have taken advantage of that. But my man, if Josh Allen was here, the Broncos would be in the playoffs. And listen, I don't believe in AIS, assumed incompetence syndrome. Assumed incompetence syndrome means that if you do one thing, everything else will happen the same way despite this major change. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in it. For you to say, oh, he would have never developed here is BS. That's assumed incompetence syndrome, that we would still be as bad even though we did this one other huge thing. That's not true. They would have focused on him. He would have developed great. They would have won games, blah, 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 blah. They would have just got coaches and players to fit Josh Allen. Instead, in 2018, they drafted Bradley Chubb. He's a Dolphin on the upside of a 50-point freaking butt kicking. And, that's what happened with our 2018 pick, not Josh Allen. And then again, and okay, fine, maybe Justin Fields isn't going to be great. Okay, I get it. But we got Patrick Surtain, and he's tremendous. But how's that working out? How's having a great corner? When freaking Mike White threw it over Patrick Surtain's head to Robbie Chosen to put a 63 burger on the plate. How did that feel? Oh, I mean, what are we seriously? By the way, this goes back to CU too. You got to have quarterbacks. That's critically important. And Shedeur is freaking fantastic. And what Shedeur will do, unlike with Hawkins, and I have nothing against Cody Hawkins. That kid was such a nice dude. So I got nothing against him. He just should have been the quarterback for Montana or University of Northern Colorado or, I don't know, just lower level schools like CSU. He just should have been in one of those places, not at CU. That's all. He was a lower level D1 sort of kid. And his dad did him a disservice because he just put him in a ridiculous situation. Well, that's not true with Shedeur. Shedeur is legit. He's a top 10 pick this year if he came out. He's probably the number 1 pick in 2025.
Well, and all that to say, having brought up this Josh Allen story, living right here in Denver, all that to say, is it pretty safe to say rather that, if you run into Shedeur at the sink, are you going to be buying him a meal?
No, hell no. Like, listen, let me tell you, Josh Allen's family came from like an almond farm in like California in the middle of nowhere. No, I'm not going to buy Shedeur anything at the sink. Are you kidding me? No.
Oh,
Shedur's just fine. He doesn't need my help. He's great. He's awesome. Let's go, Shedeur. I am
I
a
love it.
huge Shedeur Sanders fan. I'm a Shiloh Sanders fan. I'm a Deion Jr. fan. What he's done on social media is freaking awesome. What's his daughter's name? Is it Huggy? Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. I love her. I love everybody. Anybody named Sanders, I think, is awesome.
Well, forgive me. My man, you just got laid off. Why am I asking you to buy people meals? That's just so rude of me.
What are you doing?
I have no idea. Now, DMAC, I did want to switch gears here really quick because this is something that I did tease my audience with earlier today. You've experienced a ton of highs, like I said, being here covering sports here in Denver. The Broncos Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, the Avs title, the Nuggets title. Like we mentioned, Rockies losing 100 games. Are there a couple moments that really stick out to you so far in your career, or stories that that you would like to share, whether that has to do with interacting with some people like Peyton Manning or Nikola Jokic, or I don't know. I'm sure you got.
Well, I'll tell you the just to be a little more serious here. Covering professional teams winning championships is just awesome. Nikola Jokic is the most fascinating athlete I've ever been around. And the fact that I asked him about the parade and that whole comment became such a big deal to me. Right. Yeah. I said, but that was me asking that question. I love hockey. To be at the Super Bowl when the Broncos both lost and won. I mean, all of it was amazing. But to just keep it real for you, the biggest joy I've had being a Colorado sports fan is sharing moments with my two sons who are now grown, 23 and 21. My younger son plays for the Gorlocks of Webster University in St. Louis right now. I was just out there for Parents Weekend. So I think sharing and going to Buffs games, I'll tell you this, I do love the Broncos, but I would much rather take my kids to a Buffs game than a Broncos game because I just think the environment is better. And that's nothing against the Broncos, and they've done a great job doing what they've done. But just for kids and families going there, and my son is at Webster University now, but he started at the University of Northern Colorado. So it was a hoot for us to go to see CU play UNC a couple years ago because my son was at UNC and we sat in the UNC section. But being up at Folsom and Boulder with my family is awesome. And now my son, and he did go to Arizona State. So it was a hoot to see him with rooting for Arizona State against the Buffs. And, it's all been great. So experiencing sports with your family, see, I'm being serious here, that has been the biggest joy. And the college experience certainly is way up there. How about that?
I love it. Yeah. And definitely, some other cities, they're not as fortunate, as Denver is, to experience so many of those highs, as well.
No doubt. No doubt.
Just incredible. If you got just a few more minutes, DMAC, I do have a couple more quick questions for you. So you're known, for asking the tough questions, not being afraid to be that guy in the press room. This is a two-sided question. Is there a question that you're most proud of and one that you're like, that was the dumbest question I could have asked? Polar opposites.
I asked Roger Goodell if he would be tested for marijuana. I'm kind of proud of that one. And the next year, I asked Roger Goodell, are there any circumstances that exist that would see you getting fired? Because there was some weird stuff going on at the time. No, there's no questions I really regret asking. I do believe that, and I'm not trying to do gotcha sort of questions, period, but I do believe in being direct, being concise, and to the point. And so my question asking, I know I get a lot of sort of credit for that, which I deeply appreciate. That's awesome. But all I'm trying to do is think, well, what would a fan want to know? That's it, in any particular situation. And I'm not trying to put anybody in a bad spot. I'm just asking, I'm thinking to myself, what would a fan want to know? What would make them interested? And ask kind of the obvious. That's it. And I got some great advice from Rick Riley, another CU guy. And I know Rick is sort of love-hate relationship with Rick Riley and CU, but he is a CU guy. And Rick gave me some, and I don't think there's any questioning that he's a tremendous sports writer. And I love Rick, okay? So I'm a big fan of Rick Riley. Rick told me one time that the best thing you can ask when you ask one question is to follow up and just say, do you have an example? Do you have a story behind that? And I have found that to be a very, very powerful piece of advice. So if you say to an athlete, well, what was it like to beat TCU? Okay, Shedeur, what was it like to beat TCU? And he might go, well, it was really incredible. I heard from a lot of people. A great question would be, oh, who did you hear from? Can you give me an example of like who you heard from as a great follow-up? So it's not about putting people on the spot. It's about getting a deeper understanding of whatever story there is to share. So that's what I'm most proud of. And that's literally what I try to do. I'm not about making people look bad. I'm more interested in a deeper part of their story, whatever it may be, whether it's good or perhaps negative, that I think listeners, viewers, fans would want to know about.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, dmac, because yeah, I'm going to take that with me as I move forward in whatever this corner of my bedroom is becoming now. So I really
I heard
that.
your bedroom is kind of lonely.
I don't know if you can hear my wife laughing in the background.
That's funny. But... She's the one that told me.
Oh my God, dmac.
Right. Hey, brother, that's called a walk-off, and you should really wrap it up with me right now.
Yeah, I will. So again, dmac, super appreciative of your time. This means so much. Hopefully in the future we can do this again soon throughout the season. Maybe get Big Al on here, to do it too. But before you go, I know you're in transition right now, so please let everybody watching live and on the replay, let them know what you're up to. I know I forgot to say, you're the voice of Monta Vista now, but what else do you have going on right now?
I am actually getting credentials from 96.5 The Fox in Monta Vista. That's how I can keep showing up at things. They have the Broncos and the CU Buffs. So if you're in the Monta Vista, Alamosa area, sorry about that. If you're in the Monta Vista, Alamosa area and you want to hear the Buffs, 96.5 The Fox. I'm also starting this YouTube, podcast sort of deal, kind of messing around. I was on, it's going to post later, but I was with Chad Brown and Nate Jackson today. They also got the Ziggy. So, we're fine fellows together. And I'm working on other things. I have no intentions of leaving Denver. I love Colorado. I've climbed, like I said, I've done the Boulder a bunch. I've climbed 30 of the 14ers. I've skied at every mountain you could think of in Colorado, and I can't wait to ski them all again. I've competed in the Imperial Challenge 3 times. Look it up. It's a heck of an event. I just find so much beauty and awesomeness in Colorado, not only in the mountains, but for the folks that are out. I love rodeo, for example. That's a crazy thing that you might not know. I love rodeo. I love riding my bike. Trek in Boulder are my guys. My guys are Trek in Boulder. That's my jam. So I love Colorado. I have no plans of going. Hopefully this is a bump in the road for me, not a pothole or a cave. Again, things your wife has told me about your relationship. So I'm just hoping that I'll talk with you anytime you want, as long as there's energy and enthusiasm. Hey man, I am all for it. I'm about positive vibes and I'm about good stuff, not bad stuff. That's what I think is awesome about Colorado. I think we're, at the end of the day, out west, we're a positive crew of people. And just tell people from Texas and California the state's closed.
Oh man, I love that, DMAC. Well, thanks again, and everybody that's watching. I did link DMAC's YouTube channel in my description, so y'all
Nice.
better go do that. Like, let's get this man to 1,000, and
All right.
yeah,
Love it.
get him going. So
That's awesome.
DMAC, it really means so much again for you to come on, and can't wait to have you on again. Everybody tuning in, hit that like on the way out, and as always, go.
Let's go.